Widespread United Nations sanctions against Iran returned into force late on the Saturday for the first time in a decade. Also, after the last-ditch nuclear talks with the Western powers failed to produce a breakthrough, these sanctions were imposed. The sanctions, 3 months after the Israel and the United States bombarded the Iran, barred dealings related to Tehran's nuclear and also the ballistic missiles program, and are also expected to have wider effects on its troubled economy. The European and the US diplomats stressed immediately after the resumption of the sanctions that the diplomacy was not over. The United States Secretary of the State, that is the Marco Rubio, also urged Tehran to accept direct talks held in good faith. He also called on the United Nations member states to immediately implement sanctions to also pressure Iran's leader to do what is right for their nation and best for the safety of the world. The British, French and the German foreign ministers said in a joint statement that it would also continue to seek a new diplomatic solution to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. They also called on the Tehran to refrain from any escalatory action. Iran has allowed the United Nations inspectors to return to its nuclear sites, but the president, that is Masoud Pezeshkian, also said that the United States had offered only a short reprieve in return for handling over its own and the whole stockpile of the enriched uranium, a proposal that he described as unacceptable. An 11th hour effort by also the Iran allies, the Russia and the China, to postpone the sanctions until the April failed to win enough votes in the Security Council on the Friday. It also led to the measures taking effect at the midnight GMT on the Sunday or 8 o'clock on the Saturday in the New York. Germany, which also triggered the return of the sanctions alongside the Britain and the France, had no choice as Iran was not complying with its obligation, the foreign minister also, that is John Wattwell, said. For us, it is imperative Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon, he told the UN General Assembly. But let me emphasize, we remain open to negotiations on a new agreement. Diplomacy can and should continue. Russia made clear it would not enforce the sanctions, considering them invalid. Also, the sanctions finally exposed the West policy of sabotaging the pursuit of constructive solutions in the United Nations Security Council, as well as its desire to extract unilateral concessions from Tehran through blackmail and also pressure. This is what the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said. Iran has long contended that it is not seeking nuclear weapons, no longer just the United States sanctions. The sanctions are a snapback of the measures frozen in the 2015 when the Iran agreed to measure the restrictions on its nuclear program under a deal negotiated by the former President Barack Obama. The United States already imposed massive sanctions, including trying to force all the countries to shun Iranian oil when the President Donald Trump withdrew from the deal in his first term. Iran and the United States has held several rounds of money-brokered talk earlier this year, also before they collapsed in the June month, when the first Israel and then the United States also attacked the Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran recalled its envoys from the Britain, France and Germany for consultations on Saturday, the state television has reported. The current economic situation was already very difficult, but it's going to be even worse, said an Iranian engineer who asked to be identified only by his first name, Dariush. Also, the impact of the renewed sanction is already evident. The exchange rate is increasing, and this is leading to higher prices, the 50-year-old told the Millennium, lamenting a standard of living that is also much lower than its 2 or 3 years ago. The dollar was trading at around 1.12 million rial on the black market on the Saturday, a record high according to the several currency tracking websites. Also, Millennium journalist at Tehran's Grand Bazaar saw brisk business at jewelry stores in the walls of people that rushed to buy the gold. Economic malice. This is the United States that already enforces the unilateral sanctions on the Iran and has also put huge pressure on the third countries to stop buying Iranian oil, although China has defied it. The Brussels-based think tank, the International Crisis Group, said that the Iran seemed dismissive and dismissive of the renewed United Nations sanctions, as it had already worked out how to cope with the United States once. But it is noted that the snapback was not easy to reverse, as it would require consensus at the United States and the United Nations Security Council. It also likely to compound the malaise around an economy already struggling with the high inflation, currency woes, and deepening infrastructure problems, it said. In an address to the United Nations General Assembly on the Friday, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also urged no delay in reinstating the sanctions. He also hinted that Israel was ready to take further military actions after the 12 days of the bombing that the Iranian authorities say killed more than 1,000 people in June.